because like this is money that like the whole world has to come to depend on, right? I don't see that changing. I don't see that changing, but I also don't think it is enough to be a stablecoin issuer. I think for us to sort of like realize the vision.
Everyone knows that stablecoins are the future, but how should investors think about them, and what's going to bring the next wave of adoption for stablecoins and beyond? Hello and welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show that's less interested in meme coins and more interested in companies building multi-trillion-dollar markets. I'm your host, John Gill, and today is December 4th, 2025, and we're going to be talking about the quiet giant of crypto, Circle. Our guest today is Nikhil Chandhok, CTO at Circle, the company behind USDC, and its $77 billion digital dollars powering global payments, DeFi, and soon maybe your paycheck. We will unpack Circle's growth strategy, discuss its moat against banks, Tether, other competitors, and whether it is the best business in crypto or the most underrated one on Wall Street, which are not the same thing. But before we dive into today's episode, I want to let you all know about something we're building here at Milk Road AI. It's a free newsletter that comes out every Monday and Wednesday to help you keep track of the biggest moves that are happening in the space and learn how to invest in the future. The first edition came out this week already, jam-packed with alpha on this ongoing war between Google and NVIDIA. We will be launching a paid tier of this newsletter in January with a group of researchers we've been building behind the scenes. Early subscribers get the first 2 AI Pro deep dive reports for free during the month of December. So sign up now to get Monday's edition straight to your inbox and unlock 2 AI Pro reports for free this month. Today's episode is brought to you by Blocktrust IRA. Let AI outsmart the market and grow your crypto while you sleep. Reserve DTFs, get exposure to the entire crypto market in a single token, and Chainlink, break the interoperability barrier and power the future of tokenized finance. And without further ado, welcome to the Milk Road Show. Nikhil, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm really excited to talk to you today. I think a lot of people have been paying attention to Circle and are really hungry to learn more about what you guys are building over there. But I wanted to start with you and a little of your background. You have worked building products in music, gaming, even smart glasses, and Circle is a much different direction. Stablecoins is a much different direction. What attracted you to this opportunity at Circle?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've always wanted to be on this podcast. I'm a longtime subscriber to the newsletter.
Awesome.
And I'm excited for a new AI newsletter. I'm going to sign up. Let's see what attracted me to Circle. I've always worked at consumer companies. I was very early at YouTube. I was early at Google. I was early at YouTube. And I ran music at YouTube. I sort of helped create the business. YouTube gaming, like back in the day when people were doing card capture and just blasting it on the internet. And nobody knew how to build a business up around it. And so I've always been attracted to at-scale businesses that are like fundamentally by the internet, off the internet, for the internet is how I think about it, right? There's no prior on YouTube, like essentially, like, funny videos, cat videos. That's how we started. And everybody thought like, my friends were like, this is foolish. And why are you doing this? I was like, wait, this is really funny. You can't see this anywhere else. And they were like, yeah, I get it. But like, I cannot really watch Lost on YouTube. I was like, who cares? You can watch it on your TV. Lost is a show from like 2 decades ago. And so I've always been attracted to like businesses that can have full internet scale. I worked on AR glasses at Meta, those Ray-Bans that have cameras and speakers in them. That was my last project before coming to Circle. Because I really thought like, 2.5 billion people in the world wear glasses, and like, it makes no sense that they're not smart in any interesting way. And wouldn't it be great if they got just incrementally smart, much like, TVs got incrementally smart. That's like, that's how we ended up with like Ray-Bans, and it's a fantastic, they've done much more since I've left. So Circle is the same. Like, look, everybody in the world wants stable like dollars. There's no way to get it. You can't like, I grew up in India. Like, you can't go to the bank and say like, hey, I want a dollar bank account. I want a bank account number and a routing number that lets me accept like dollar paychecks. That's not a thing. So for 330 million Americans, like, it is phenomenal. I'm American now, so we have dollar access. We have dollar rails. We have incredible financial products. We have incredibly robust capital markets and financial infrastructure with power, like all the innovation in this country. One of the things you mentioned is like your AI newsletter and how much investment there is in AI. Like, it's remarkable how much the US is able to sort of just marshal resources and move them around in a short period of time to go invest in something. So our markets work well. And so Stablecoins was a way to sort of like bring all of this innovation, all of this like financial infrastructure, all of this like capacity to the rest of the world. And so that's how I got attracted to it. I was like, it makes no sense. Like there's like 22 trillion, M2 money or however it is defined. And there was only 100 billion of stablecoin, or less than 100 billion of stablecoin when I started. I think it was like 80-ish or something. And I was like, this makes no sense. What is the upper bound on this market? Like, why wouldn't there be more dollars in the world converted into stablecoins so that average users around the world would be able to access them? So even though we're not a retail focused company, we are a retail product in many ways. When I first came on, I used to describe this very simply. I was like, look, imagine a world in which you're in the Amazon jungle and you come across a can of Coca-Cola. You want to have, when you open that can of Coca-Cola, you're expecting a certain experience. When you're interacting with USDC somewhere in the world, you are expecting a certain experience. And so how that can of Coca-Cola got there is like a whole complicated thing. How the USDC got to the end user is a whole complicated thing. So even though we're not a retail focused company, we make sure that we create products that the end users touch. And so that's it. I think this product has opportunity to touch billions of users around the world, and very few things come along that can touch billions of users, and those things are rare. So that's why I got attracted to it.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you saying is that just like sunglasses were an analog product, there needed to be a digital version. You're saying same thing with the dollar, and it's something that everybody touches, but only certain people have access to. So you're trying to democratize that access. Makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people who are crypto native know Circle as a stablecoin issuer, but right. I think that the company has evolved a lot beyond that. And I'm interested how you think of Circle. Is it a stablecoin issuer? Is it a financial infrastructure company? How do you think of Circle at this time, and what is the company evolving to become?
Yeah, look, we used to be just a stablecoin issuer, and that's how we found success over the years. And just being a stablecoin issuer was non-trivial for us, and we were successful at it. We have the second largest stablecoin. We grew really fast over the last year. But at this point, we are a platform company, right? So, and I think we are a stablecoin issuer as much as YouTube is an entertainment network, right? It makes no sense. You're like, wait, hold on a second. What is being consumed on YouTube is content. What is operating on our infrastructure is stablecoins. But all of that glue that goes into making the stablecoin successful is what sets us apart, right? So we have now started talking about it. We've been building it for some time, but we have now started talking about the fact that we also have Circle Payments Network, which is not just a stablecoin network, which coordinates cross-border payment flows around the world. So I think about it as the stablecoin sit in the middle. The Circle Payment Network is a kind of application of the stablecoin. And then one layer below is our Arc layer 1 blockchain network that we hope to launch next year. And so we're moving into becoming much more like a internet platform company than just being an asset issuer, right? I think asset issuance is sort of like, I would say that even that Circle hasn't been just an asset issuer for a really long time. They started issuing an asset, but then eventually realized that what they were building was a stablecoin network. And what I mean by that is a stablecoin is the utility of the stablecoin only comes because there is a network effect. And I know it's a funny thing to say, how do you get there? And that is the hard nut to crack for everybody. Issuing the stablecoin is trivial, as I think there are many stablecoin issues at this point, right? More than I have fingers on my person, right? And so but getting it to scale, getting it to get the network effect is really, really hard. And Circle recognized that and was successful at it. And now we are recognizing that being just a stablecoin network operator is not enough. What we need to be is a full internet scale platform company. And so we're building products both up and down the stack to get us there. In the process, we will probably build a ton of new technology that creates this mainstream adoption of crypto possible. Which is the dream for all of us, right? So, yeah.
Bitcoin changed the investment game. Now AI changes the strategy. Crypto's wild ride demands perfect timing, selling before drops, buying as it climbs. While most investors panic, sell, or hope, a select few leverage a crucial edge: AI. Blocktrust IRA's trading platform spots market patterns with precision no human can match. Since 2020, their Animus AI platform has outperformed Bitcoin by over 250%. Visit milkroad.com/blocktrust today to get up to $2,500 in bonus crypto and transform your investment strategy. ETFs provide investors with a structured, disciplined, and diversified approach to crypto, which is cool, but the world is moving on-chain. We need a crypto-native equivalent. That's exactly what Reserve's decentralized token folios, DTFs, bring to the table. Reserve DTFs are rule-based baskets of crypto assets packaged into a single token, like CoinMarket's CMC20, crypto's version of the S&P 500. Go to milkroad.com/reserve to find out what's on offer.
So I'm hearing a few things in that. And one of the things that brings up for me is a question about the competitors, right? Because now that the Genius Act has come through, I hear your point about anybody can issue a stablecoin, getting it to those network effects and network adoption is the hurdle there. Obviously, Tether made the distinction of not being Genius Act compliant with their main product and launching a different product to comply with the Genius Act, but keeping one of them non-compliant. There's going to be now, there's speculation that a lot of other issuers of Meta or JP Morgan or whoever might also come into that space. How is Circle thinking about this? Are you guys focusing on creating new business lines to diversify out of just being a stablecoin issuer and focusing energy there? Or is it more of a focus on using the new clarity from the Genius Act to expand the adoption of USDC? And what does your role look like in both of those as the CTO?
Look, we're doing both. I think we are increasing the adoption of stablecoins, as in we've grown really fast in the last year, in the last 12 months. Some was in anticipation of Genius, and then some once Genius happened, I think people were all right, who has the closest thing to what Genius wants the stablecoin to be? And Circle is that, right? I think Genius essentially enshrines our business model. And so when you're picking a stablecoin, let's say you're a fintech and you're trying to pick a stablecoin, you're making a platform bet, essentially, right? So it's hard to make that bet if the stablecoin is not liquid, if it doesn't have the properties that USDC has. And so will we compete there? Yes, we will continue to compete there. It is the main source of revenue for the company. A lot of my time goes into making sure that USDC is the best stablecoin in the market. It's most featured. It's on the most chains. It has the most liquidity, has the best banking rails around the world. And so we have this entire liquidity infrastructure that exists around USDC that we go operate, both primary and secondary market liquidity that we sort of focus on. That doesn't mean that we won't be investing in new businesses, because those businesses are complementary, right? So if you are a user of CPN, you're a financial institution that wants to do stablecoin payments, where do you begin? What do? Do you go implement a bunch of wallets and then then what? And then who do you call? Who's going to take your stablecoin payment, and who's going to terminate it on the other side? What happens if your user wants fiat on the other side? We can solve all of that for financial institutions, for banks, for payment service providers who want to do this. And so that business will also grow. We announced something in our last earnings call. We said we have 55 partners on CPN now, which is pretty amazing. We had 0 partners in April. And so we grew pretty fast. We're gonna keep growing there, and we're gonna keep investing there. And then we have ARC as well, because we think there's a ton to do on the L1 level as well. Will there be more products? Yeah, maybe. In the same way Google started from search and became this behemoth that is now competing with NVIDIA on TPUs. And so where will search? I don't have that. I can't see that far in the future. I can see the next year and what we're doing, and we're going to be focused on these 3 things that we're and that we have spoken. We will talk more about it in time. We will share more details, but all 3 things are going to be important businesses, essentially. Yeah.
Gotcha. I appreciate the perspective on that. And yeah, none of us are sure what the future looks like. That's part of what's exciting about this. I do want to ask some more questions about ARC and the decision there, because I think that, from somebody who's, familiar with digital assets, but maybe not in the weeds on some of these things, we keep hearing about things like Plasma, ARC, Tempo, and then we keep hearing about new highly performant L1s launching and scaling solutions and so forth. And so just walk us through the decision to launch an L1 as opposed to an L2, like Coinbase or Robinhood did. What was that process like, and what are you all thinking? What's the strategy with ARC?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to share that. Maybe like I'll give a little perspective because I'm old and you can see white hair on my head. And so one of the things, I was in Google in 2007 when the first iPhone came out. I actually worked on the first iPhone in a small way. I was at YouTube. We built the first iPhone had the YouTube application on it. Then I was part of that project and I got to meet Steve Jobs. It was really cool. And around the first iPhone coming out, Google also bought some company that eventually became Android, right? And so when Android started, like as a project, there were 6 other operating systems that were trying to do what Android wanted to do, which was to sort of build an ecosystem of devices that was going to be more open than Apple was going to be. And look, anybody even then could go to Qualcomm and get like a chipset and what is called a BSP, which is basically the OS that like boots up the chipset and like brings you into a phone. What differentiated Google was its ability to sort of like rally an ecosystem around them, right? Like all the same applications that you had on your iPhone would now be on the Google phone, and not the Google phone, like the Android phone. And so, yes, there's a lot of other participants in the market. First, we believe we have something to offer in terms of just technical differentiation. Like I think we have USDC as gas, we have configurable privacy, and we have payment finality, which we think is really important for some of the use cases that we're seeing that we don't see existing in the market from the existing L2 ecosystem or even the existing L1s that are in the market. And then second is we really think that we can build an ecosystem for this like wave of like new financial platform companies financial technology companies that are going to be built on these new financial platforms. And we want to be a partner to all of these new companies that are coming about, and we want to build the ecosystem with them. Because if you're building a new financial technology application in 2026, where we are almost, you're not doing it on traditional rails. You're not doing it using the same old technology that was like last year. Everything has changed. And like you want to build it on a new platform. You want to make sure that whatever you build is like resilient to any changes in the next decade. Let's say it takes 10 years to build a company, a really good company. And so like, we want to build a platform that like people want to build their companies on, and we can be the reliable partners that companies come to look for. And so I think we have an opportunity. I don't think we will succeed by putting others down and say like, hey, like, look, they're not doing something well. We will succeed because we are valuable. Like it's interesting to work with us. It's easy to work with us. We have a unique technology to offer. So yeah, Coinbase may have chosen the path because like, it was probably the most, it made most sense for Coinbase, or like, Robinhood. I don't know what their ambition is there. Our ambition is to operate global financial infrastructure that people can build their businesses on. And to do that in the best possible way, I think like for us to build an L1 was the right thing to do.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I think this is a really interesting thing that we're seeing. A lot of players in the industry have to come to this decision point, right? And some people are saying, let's partner with someone else who does this and focus on what we do. And some people are saying, actually, we think we have something distinctive to offer the market here. And really, the market's the one who has to answer these questions. I'm curious your thoughts about this, though, because a concern I've heard raised by some people is that the proliferation of all these different L1s and
right.
Competing products and services, like Jupiter, for example, was on Solana. Now they're launching their own L1 too. There's this fragmentation that's happening, and this sort of weakens not just individual chains, but it weakens the overall industry. How do you think about that question? Do you think that there's truth to that? Do you think it's just part of the development and maturation of the industry? How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, like I think people will try many things. Like I think there's going to be many, my intuition is there will be many more chains than there are right now. And many more will be successful than there are right now. Because we have sort of come from a time where demand was artificially suppressed because of like everything that happened around us. We're now entering into a phase where the merits of the technology can count for everything. I mean, and the builders of this technology who are building these ecosystems will have to compete with each other. So there are many builders in the world who think they can compete, and they have a unique perspective of like what to offer. I'm sure Jupiter have a unique perspective on like why their chain is best, or like what they can achieve for their application using their own chain. Fragmentation will happen. Liquidity will get spread out across these chains. Like we have as an asset issuer, I think we are the only stablecoin that does this. We operate our own native bridge to move USDC around between the chains. And so we recognized it, like, I think CCTP may be 3 years old or 4 years old at this point. So we recognized this early on. We were like, look, we need to be on many more chains. Chains come to us and they're like, look, I need liquidity on my chain to be successful. We don't want to turn them away and say like, oh, you know what? There are already enough chains in the world. We don't need your chain. And so our perspective is like, okay, how do we enable it? And then we hear from folks who are deploying liquidity being like, look, managing that liquidity is really hard. What can you do to make it easy? And so we're like, okay, well, here's a bridge that makes it really easy. So we had a slow version of the bridge, and now we have a fast version of like CCTP. And so, yeah, there will be fragmentation, and like that's why I'm talking about like an ecosystem, right? Like, so yeah, you can issue a stablecoin on Ethereum, and like and you know how to count like money in your fiat account against your on-chain tokens, but like all of this needs to be figured out to make it really useful. And I think that part is hard. I think like and others should do it. Like, look, if you believe me that M2 money supply is like 20 trillion or something, and we are at the beginnings of this ecosystem, and this ecosystem is only 250 billion or 300 billion, and it has room to grow, there will be many more participants because there's just this demand, and even we are not going to be able to keep up with like all of the expansion of the market that comes. I'm sure we will try, and like we will do all the right things and all of that, but there will be new stuff that will be like, hey, my stablecoins does X, Y, and Z in this specific way. And like, yeah, I mean, like, it's the internet, like all websites. There's not just one website in the world, even though there's Google, which takes you to every website in the world. And even Google, like, now there's ChatGPT, like there's open internet. Like open internet is the best thing that happened. Yeah.
I really appreciate the humor and the perspective on that. And you're right. It's like, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a beautiful thing to have an industry that has so much innovation happening all the time, but it does make it difficult to keep up. Interesting there. So I'm curious about what you envision these partnerships looking like, right? Like you said, you're trying to build this like base layer that supports a lot of these businesses, that brings access to digital dollars. An example, like you guys have this longstanding partnership with Coinbase. I'm curious about how you see that relationship evolving, but like, do you think that there will be similar partnerships to that relationship developed with other businesses as well? Or like, how do you see Circle figuring into some of the technology stacks of some of these people, these users that you're trying to bring in?
Yeah, look, Coinbase has been with us since the very beginning. So they are a very special partner to us. They have been critical to USDC's success. And so we continue to be partners with them. There's no doubt in my mind that we will have a close relationship with Coinbase for a long time. The others, like, other partnerships, will they look like Coinbase? It's hard to tell. Like, kind of depends on what the partner brings to the table. We have relationships with other exchanges because like they need a stablecoin too, and they can't just be reliant on just one stablecoin. That's a lot of risk for them, right? Like what happens if like the stablecoin they chose like is not successful or has a market event that they cannot manage, right? And so yeah, we have relationships with all the exchanges like that you can think of. We will continue to keep doing that. I think the more interesting thing is what is happening beyond trading and like beyond like this liquidity provisioning that happens on all of these exchanges, which is there is like all of this payments activity, which is just, I'm not a payments expert. I just told you I made sunglasses, and before that I made funny videos, right? Like, so I'm just learning this stuff. And like what is amazing to me, how terrible these existing systems are. They're just done really poorly. And so you bring in a programmable stack and you bring in something that is really efficient, and you sort of bring an engineer's mindset to it, and you bring in sort of an ethos of building on the internet, which we do as a company. And like you can burn through a lot of complexity very, very fast. And I think that's happening. It's not just happening with us. There are many others who are doing this, and they're doing it really well. And like they're building on top of USDC, like we are building on top of USDC. So yeah, will there be more partnerships? Absolutely. What will they look like? I mean, you should just follow our blog, like, every week at Zagi, who leads commercial for us. Like, he has something new that he's cooking. So yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, we'll have to pay attention there. I've heard the payments architecture of the global financial system described as a Rube Goldberg machine that's held together by duct tape and good wishes.
That's not how an engineer would design it, right? Like, I don't think engineers wake up and they go like, "Oh man, like, you know what I really need is another Rube Goldberg machine."
Right.
That's really exciting for me to do. That's what they do in kindergarten, like, to teach people causality.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you can improve on the Rube Goldberg machine for a lot of people then. I want to ask your thoughts on artificial intelligence and how that intersects with stablecoins and with digital assets more broadly. Because this is something obviously at Milk Road we've been focused on. I know you must be thinking about this too. Just, how are you thinking about AI right now, and where does that factor into the job as CTO?
I came at it slower than most people, right? Like, I think I will be honest about it, because I worked on AI systems for some time before all this like craziness started, right? Like, so like, I'll be honest, I did not expect these inference models to be so successful so fast. So I do think there is I'll combine a few threads here. One is I buy the assumption or the hypothesis that the web will be used by agents more than it will be used by humans, right? So like right now we are using the web, like you and I are like browsing the web, like it's designed for us. Now there will be a version of the web that will be designed for agents, okay? So makes sense. And there will be all these primitives and all these new companies created to enable that, right? Like, so you have information, you have a shopping website, like you have an information website, you have some other website that like is trying to do something for the user. How do we make sure it's operable by agents? Once that is true, where the web starts getting to, like, the amount of agent usage time eclipses human usage time, and even on the way to that, you will see more complicated payment flows that like emerge that are not possible to express using the existing sort of like payment infrastructure, right? And I think that's the opportunity, is the programmability of the payments. It's not so much like, maybe like the small size payments is important as well. Like, I don't have intuition on that yet, as in like who will use that, and agents to agents, like, just sharing small amounts of payments. It's possible that they will do it. But what I think is more interesting is like complex rule sets for long running queries that like the agent is performing for the user, right? Like, go find me these flights and these are the constraints you have. And like, when you do this, like, there's a whole if then else that the agent has to follow, and that will be hard to express using like existing payment networks. And I think that will be the opportunity for stablecoins, because stablecoins are programmable. Like, it's fundamentally just a token that is being that has, you can build a full Turing machine with it, right? Like, so like, and so I am excited for that. So that is like one bucket I'm excited for. The machine-to-machine payments, yes. Hopefully, there's a use case that is obvious where stablecoins will be useful, because for small payments, there's nothing better than stablecoin. And then I think like the big opportunity is like what happens as a consequence of like more intelligence, like in our lives, where we are individually more productive. And what is the societal impact of that? And like, how do we think about that? And like, I think like stablecoins and crypto have a huge role to play, because like, look, crypto is about like solving the coordination problem, right? Like, all of us around the world have decided that Bitcoin is worth $2 trillion or whatever it is today, right? Like, so, but we have coordinated on that activity together. And like, and crypto has enabled that. Ethereum is a world computer. And like, we have coordinated on that activity, and we have all around the world, we have come together and we've created these ideas that didn't exist and that are worth a lot of money, like a $2 trillion asset that didn't exist in 2009, right? And so the next set of coordination that I think is interesting is sort of like, is trying to like create, like making sure that like stablecoins can be used for like capital formation for like users as we get into this age of like individual empowerment, where we have like, if you're somebody with an idea and you have digital workers and your entire corporation is on the internet, how do we make sure that like you can raise money, you can like do things with stablecoins? And if you have agents, they're probably operating with stablecoins. You're doing your entire business is on a stablecoin stack, and then you should be able to raise money on stablecoins. So like that's my dream. Like, that's what keeps me motivated. Like, once AI happens, like the world will become more productive. What does productivity mean? It means removal of inefficiencies. As inefficiencies go away, what happens? New ideas come forward. As new ideas come forward, they need to be funded. and like crypto is great at funding ideas, right? So like that's where, and you need stable coins for that. You cannot do it using like existing infrastructure. You like the best idea should be funded globally. That's what Bitcoin is, right? It's a globally good idea, right? So.
Right. Yeah. So I think the estimates I've seen, I think these are our estimates, but around half of internet activity right now is non-human in origin, and by estimates are by 2030 it could be like 10-1 non-human to human. So like the future is coming fast.
Everything that I'm talking about is like in the next 4 to 5 years. I think like there used to be a time where I could predict, I could say like, oh, like this is happening and then this is happening and then this is going to happen, and like I think this timeline will make sense. I personally have been surprised by everything that has happened in the last like 3 to 4 years. And as a technologist, it's an incredibly optimistic time because like everything that you think could not be done is being done, and is being done very, very fast. Like there are reusable rockets that have gone up and down more than 500 times. Like, like it's just madness. Like there's an AI that can tell me everything I need to know about like this complicated thing. Like I'm dealing with some family members' medical condition, and like this AI is the best sort of advocate I have on my side. And we have stablecoin payments around the world that like will let me send dollars to anybody in the world in 2 seconds. That didn't used to exist 5 years ago, 10 years ago. This is an incredible time that we're in, and as technologists, it becomes like the challenge is to how to integrate all of that thinking in a way that is useful for users, right? Like, and not get carried away by it and say like, oh, this is the value is in this integrated thinking now. It is not like on the asset, like everything you think will be true will be true. Like on the asymptote, everything will come true.
So let me ask you a question about this. So one of the big ethos, rather, I guess, of digital assets and of crypto is this idea of decentralization. And, as we move towards this future we've described, a lot of people are concerned about concentration of control and power in the hands of, whoever controls certain centralized chains or issuers of assets, not just stablecoins, but other assets as well. And how do you think about that, right? Like if we're living in a world where we have AI agents handling our transactions and there's one company that controls not only the stable coins, but the L1, like what are your thoughts around that in terms of as a technologist, right? Like how do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to live in a world in which like one company controls everything, right? Even if like that's not a world that like motivates me. Look, I'm that old that I know what BGP is. Okay, I worked on it in graduate school, Border Gateway Protocol, and that is what like
I've not heard that since I was in school. So nice.
And so like the Border Gateway Protocol is fully decentralized, and it's sort of it is what is like at the root of like the internet. Like all these routers are basically running Border Gateway Protocol, and like we are all benefiting from it. I'm just using it as an example. So like, look, even ARC is fully EVM compatible, right? Like we are not trying to break that. We are trying to create a model that is, we're trying to create like an application space for us to like, succeed for the use cases we have. So Circle issues on 28 chains like USDC and does that because it believes that like this like sort of diversification of like power and like, ability to like is a general good. Like, so I don't know, again, like this is one of those things like not being able to predict the future, but in terms of ethos of the company, Jeremy Allaire sort of only built internet companies. I haven't been a successful founder like he has been, but I also worked only on internet companies my whole life. So I do not want that which I grew up on to disappear because of something that I did, right? Like, so like I'm excited for the web, because if machines are going to use the web, like, the web is useful again. Like we went through a phase where all this power was being concentrated and into these aggregation platforms. That is not the case anymore. Like, and even with crypto, like, look, you can take any project and you can branch it. And you just got to convince enough people that makes sense. I'm a little more open-minded about like, and optimistic, I guess, about like not living in this sort of like Orwellian world that something is inevitable, right? Like I'm sort of in the other bucket, which is like, no, I think with some clever engineering and with some like, good culture in the building communities, we will end up in a place which is not dark, like which is actually encouraging, like which is like, look, we're going to enter into this phase of incredible productivity, and which will allow people to sort of like do the things like knowledge now, which used to be the biggest arbitrage, is gone. Like that arbitrage has disappeared, and like with stable coins and with internet finance, financial access is still a big arbitrage, but like even that will go away. And so like what should that world look like? I think it's a fascinating question in terms of like who emerges successful in that world. And like I want to see that future. I don't want this like concentration. So yeah, is it possible? Will like people have bad incentives? Yes. Like, has the internet succeeded at sort of like taking your bad incentive and like basically kicking your ass? 100%. Yeah.
Sure, tokenized financial products are the future, but there is a big sticking point. They all need to speak to each other. This is a tough problem to solve, but Chainlink does exactly that. It's the universal language for financial markets, linking Wall Street to Web3, banks to blockchain, and so much more. See how Chainlink is linking the world by going to milkroad.com/Chainlink.
Well, I think just like you said, like we don't want to get to a dystopian future. And I think something that's a relief to a lot of people's minds is just to hear that it is something you're thinking about, right? Because we all have a responsibility to make sure that we don't get to a dark future, but to a more utopian, a better, and a more free future.
I have 3 children. I don't want them to live in some Orwellian future. I want them to live in I want them the future to have puppies and unicorns and an opportunity.
And I like your point about not trying to like replace or destroy Ethereum as the world computer, but like, hey, we made a sandbox for us to play and build some applications into, and like, they can encourage each other. Okay, we're coming towards the end of time here. I want to get in just one final question about this, because I think this is something that a lot of investors have on their mind right now. We have a lot of investors who watch this channel, and like I said, there's a lot of different competitors from Wall Street, from other places in crypto, other L1s, other stablecoin issuers. What I would like for you to do is just as clearly as you can, to an investor's perspective, right? Like, why is Circle a great business, and what do you view as distinguishing Circle from others like JP Morgan or Tether, et cetera? What's the moat to protect that?
Look, there is no public company that is doing what we are trying to do, is what I would say. We are a stablecoin issuer. We used to be a stablecoin issuer, and now we are a full stack internet platform company. And I think like you have to sort of like believe our thesis, like in the sense that when we say like, look, like the stablecoins are just the beginning. But what we're building with ARC is this economic OS, and like what we're building with CPN is this global payments network. And this all syncs together because the more payments activity there's more utility to the stablecoin, and to create utility in the stablecoin, we are building features like fast finality, privacy, stablecoin as gas inside of ARC. So my hope is that our story hangs together, like in the sense as to like why we're doing the things we're doing. Vis-a-vis other stablecoin issuers, like, look, we are where we are in the market. We're second largest. We are MiCA compliant. I think I said this earlier, Genius enshrines our way of doing things. And so we are going to keep doing that. We're going to keep working in ways which are compliant, because like this is money that like the whole world has to come to depend on, right? And so I don't see that changing. I don't see that changing, but I also don't think it is enough to be a stablecoin issuer. I think for us to sort of like realize the vision, not about investors and not about specifically like what the stock will do, but like our vision is much fuller than just being a stablecoin issuer. I think yes, and yes, today we make most of our money using because of stablecoins, but we are building new businesses, right? So like Google had this back in the day, like all your money comes from search. What happens? And like you can click one button and go to Bing and all that jazz. And like this is true. I used to work. Early days of Google, you had like the founders were right there, and like you could like. I was very young, and they would just be like, They were like, yeah, that's true. People should use the other ones if it's better. And I would just sit there. I was just like, no way you said that. They would just be like, I think it's the same. I mean, so I have the same ethos. I'm like, look, if the other thing is better, it's on us to make it better. And like to tell you that our thing is better. And like, so you will see it in our ethos, right? Like, because like we want to build things, we want to build widgets. We don't want to complain. We don't want to sort of cast aspersions on others' way of doing things. We're just going to keep building our thing. Like our thing is, well, we used to do one thing, we now do three things, and we're gonna sort of pick up pace on all three things. We used to be a stablecoin network. Now we are a full stack platform company. What does that mean in the internet financial space? Yeah, it's being defined. It's not defined yet, right? And so we will define it, and we will probably bring this vision to bear, hopefully soon. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not the CFO, so I don't know what else.
No, but I think hearing about the diversification of the business from the technology perspective is really valuable for our audience. So I appreciate you doing that. And yeah, we're going to be watching 2026 ARC goes live. We're going to be watching what you guys are doing there. So just thank you so much for being here, sharing with our audience. Where can we send people to find more of you and your work online to follow along with Circle's journey here?
You can go to my Twitter, or the Circle blog has like a ton of information. Like the Circle's Twitter has a ton of information as well, and I also post time to time. But most operators, I am more focused on doing things, and and we are hoping that the partnerships we launch, the products we launch, the outcomes we create speak for ourselves. Sort of show we're a serious company trying to build serious technology, right? So I mean, this stuff is hard. It is not easy. Like I said earlier, you can start a stablecoin, much like you can put up. You started Milk Road. You can put up a website and say I am Milk Road, and then what happens? You got to bring people in.
Then Nikhil subscribes to our Milk Road Macro newsletter, and we all get smarter together. Thanks so much for being here. I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm wishing you guys all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. And thank you all for joining us. We hope you all learned something today. So until next time, stay bullish, stay educated, stay safe, and we will see you all in the next episode of the Milk Road Show. Thanks for being here, everyone. Bye.
If y'all are making swaps or trades right now, highly recommend you check out Milk Road Swap. This is a DEX that we built in partnership with Cow Protocol. Why did we build it? Not to make money, just honestly so we could have a place to do our swaps for the lowest fees that we could find. This is the fees on Ethereum, Arbitrum, and Base are only 0.15% fees. This is a huge difference from other centralized exchanges that charge 0.5% or even up to 1.2% fees on their swaps. Also, you can swap on Solana, all at swap.milkroad.com. Check it out today. You won't be upset. And you can join me in my favorite place to make swaps on chain. Want insights on what's moving crypto markets and how we're trading each event? Subscribe to our channel and join the Milk Road Daily and Pro newsletters and start investing like the top 1%. This show is for educational purposes only. Nothing we say is financial advice. Investing is risky. Never invest more than you can afford to lose.